Welcome back. We begin again with a soft hello hello, which at this point lands with all the authenticity of a robocall from a fake insurance agent. It's another Weigh-In Wednesday, the recurring performance piece where change is promised, never delivered, and promptly replaced with a new Lego set. She opens with the first of her 5 questions, going on about coping mechanisms. She speaks of alarms, journaling, emotional awareness, concepts that might suggest growth in more capable hands. But don't be fooled by the language of recovery draped over a foundation of well-seasoned nonsense. She says, sometimes I sit with the feeling. A noble act, if it wasn't coming from a woman who sat with every feeling imaginable and then filmed a breakdown about it. She journals, she cleans dishes, she plays with Twinkie, she builds Lego, she distracts, she removes herself from the room. It's all incredibly reasonable, and also completely ineffective. Because let's be honest, none of this has ever translated to sustained change. The woman treats the phrase, I remove myself from the situation, like a victory lap, when all she's done is swap one chair for another. The techniques she's using aren't invalid. They do work. They worked for me. But this is Amberlynn Reid. She spent over a decade cycling the same things over and over, so I just don't buy it. She says you just have to be kind to yourself, but darling, you've been so kind to yourself that you've excused and justified every red flag in your life. You've created a world where self-compassion is just never holding yourself accountable. And the metaphor, she says, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get. Amberlynn, if that were true, your willpower would be bodybuilder tier by now from all the practice runs you've abandoned. Instead, you've turned excuse-making into an Olympic sport, and your coping skills into content filler. It's not growth, it's just rehearsed introspection for the applause of strangers who were never clapping to begin with. It is all sound advice, it's just regurgitated with all the sincerity of a chatty NPC. You can quote the manual all day, but if you never do the work, you're not recovering, you're just monologuing. And then she begins to answer questions. She opens with an unsolicited talk on why she watches healthy eating. She claims it's not something she searches for. Of course not. Why take initiative when the YouTube algorithm can do your aspirational living for you? Apparently, if a kale smoothie crosses her timeline and she doesn't skip it immediately, that counts as progress. Darling, if passive viewing equaled progress, we'd all be marathon runners just from watching the Olympics. You're not being inspired. You're window shopping self-discipline. Next question. Does Mama Lynn discourage bad food choices? She responds with a no, as expected, because in this universe, her enablers are rebranded as supportive. The most we get is she encourages me to cook more. It's incredible. A mother-daughter dynamic built entirely on shrugging through the storm. Mother of the year, truly. And now, the thyroid saga. Again. She's shocked to discover that checking your thyroid might actually be relevant when discussing chronic weight gain, fatigue, depression, and all the other symptoms she's monologued about for years. Her explanation is that the last time she had it checked was when she was 15. I'm sorry, what? That's not a quirky oversight, that's malpractice by apathy. She says the appointment was hyper-focused on weight loss, because of course it was. Every appointment, every video, every moment of her adult life has been hyper-focused on weight loss. And yet, miraculously, nothing ever happens. It's like watching someone complain about drowning while refusing to grab the life preserver because she's waiting for one that matches her aesthetic. And we can't ignore the parade of conditions she name drops like they're designer labels. Every ailment is an alibi, and every diagnosis is just a new way to avoid change. These weigh-ins are just becoming an exhibition of why nothing is ever her fault. If she were half as committed to treatment as she is to collecting the conditions, she'd be unrecognizable by now, in the best way. Instead, she remains exactly as expected, decorated in diagnoses and drenched in denial, and still watching health content like it's going to absorb into her through osmosis. The next question is glorious, it's my favourite. Why do you look at yourself while eating on camera? And Amberlynn, without even blinking, because blinking would interrupt her reflection, responds with the bafflingly casual, "It's just a natural habit that us YouTubers have." Darling, no. This is not a YouTuber thing. This is a you thing. This is a I'm my own favourite viewer thing. This is a no bite enters my mouth unless I can see it thing. She says she doesn't like watching herself eat. Sure, and I don't like dramatic sarcastic vengeance. She claims that she's not doing anything weird like that, but don't forget this is the same woman who filmed herself consuming 1 million calories while gazing into the screen like Narcissus at a buffet. And her attempt to rationalise it, where should our eyes go, is unintentionally poetic. Because yes, Amberlynn, where should your eyes go? Maybe away from the screen, maybe towards a salad, maybe inward toward reflection. Actual reflection, not the kind framed in a camera viewfinder. But no, they go straight to herself every time. It's the whole reason she posts, so she can watch herself guzzling down food like a sea monster swallowing ships. Next, we enter the ceremony of low expectations, otherwise known as the goals segment. She solemnly announces that she has successfully taken a medication and written in a food journal. Applause? Anyone? No? Good. She says that journaling helped her realise she was eating more than she felt she was. Imagine that, a written record of her own delusions. It's stunning. She proudly recounts her internal conversation. Why am I so hungry? And then checking the journal. Well, you ate a decent amount. To her, this is a revelation. To the rest of us, it's Wednesday. Amberlynn, darling, you're not cracking codes. You're rediscovering portion control with the fervour of a colonist discovering a country that already had people on it. She praises herself for taking medication on time thanks to a pill organiser. An organiser. 7 labelled compartments. The bar is subterranean once again. Then she moves on to this week's goals. Keep taking her medication, so novel. And to use her water bottle. The holy grail of hydration. Her sippy chalice of redemption. She's graduated from plastic to reusable. But let's be honest, she's not tracking her water. She's romanticising her accessories. She's filing for influencer status on the basis of a bottle. Her proud declaration that she sometimes drinks 3 bottles of water a day is framed like she just solved a drought. She's treating basic functioning like it's the finale of an underdog biopic. Food journaling and water consumption aren't just triumphs, they're table stakes in a game she's been losing for a decade. But as always, with enough softly spoken delusions, she reframes stagnation as a journey. And then we reach the emotional manipulation monologue, where she erects her fortress of fragility and dares anyone to question the architectural integrity. She opens with her week's emotional state. Mental health days, she calls them, like they're a quaint little spa getaway and not the convenient scapegoat for every binge lie and backpedal. She admits to emotional eating, says she's trying, and in the very next breath admits that she's not been transparent. That's not progress, Amberlynn, that's open gaslighting. She tells us that she has a wall, a big wall, a metal wall, 1 million feet high and 1 million feet wide. It's so poetic and dramatic and calculated. This isn't a woman being vulnerable, this is just performance art with a construction fetish. Every brick in her wall has been handcrafted from defensiveness, baked in the kiln of consequence and sealed with self-pity. And why is the wall there? Why else? The backlash. The critics. The cruel people who are just too harsh. Amberlynn, that's not backlash. That is just realistic response to your bad behaviour. You don't get to spend a decade mocking, exploiting and manipulating and then cry foul when the applause turns to side-eye. She then says she's thinking of ending the weigh-ins and the What I Ate Today videos. Shocking. Not because it's new, but because it's always the cycle. Make a promise, break the promise, blame the audience, disappear for a while, return with a new goal and a new haul. Amberlynn doesn't want peace. She doesn't even want change. She just wants a curated audience of enablers who'll praise her for drinking water and let her blame everything from the alignment of the planets to childhood trauma for her continued self-destruction. She then has the gall to say, I could never be cruel to someone who's struggling. Amberlynn, my dear, my darling, you have been documented repeatedly, gleefully mocking, gaslighting, manipulating and berating others, especially the people who are supporting you. This is just a PR campaign for cowardice. She built a wall? Good. Let us sit behind it. And then, here we are, the big reveal. the part where we pretend that this entire performance was building towards something meaningful. She announces that last week she was £516, and now she's £513.8, a loss of £2.2. She reads the news with the weary detachment of someone reading a receipt. There's no joy, no drive, not even any intention. It's just a numbers game being played at the pace of tectonic shift. Just to recap, she started this new series over 2 months ago at 519.8. She's lost £6 since then. 6 in 10 weeks. That's not even £1 a week, and now she's not even sure that this week's loss is real. She's shrugging it off as a possible fluctuation. So what are we doing here? Why is she filming this? Why does she even bother to set the goals if the results can be dismissed as whimsy and water weight? We have watched the woman cry, meditate, blame, babble about Justin Bieber, fuck herself, romanticize a water bottle and summon tarot energy, to be only £6 lighter than when she began. This isn't a weigh-in series. It's just performance art for the perpetually stagnant. But this is it. 10 weeks, £6. She's managed to turn a weigh-in series into a weekly diary of denial, peppered with vague sadness, a splash of tarot, and the emotional depth of a puddle. She isn't documenting a journey. She's broadcasting a loop. And it's not even a very interesting one at that. Now, I'm gonna go and drink water from a bottle without performing emotional theatre about it. Also, don't worry. If she does cancel weigh-ins and what I ate today videos, we won't miss any progress, because there wasn't any to begin with.